This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development consultants who are struggling with steady lead flow, consistent bottom line, and scalability, so they can finally have healthy margins, make more strategic decisions, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because nothing seems to work outside of word of mouth and referral-based growth. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation that create sustainable revenue and year-over-year growth for cheaper than ever before because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix, everybody. I'm your host, Lisanne Murphy, and today I am joined by the incredible, talented Steve Miksta. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Excited to be on here and share hopefully some wisdom with you.
Well, guys, he is full of wisdom, and I'm really excited to have it laid down. I met Steve recently, and in our conversation, I was just really blown away by his precision, like ninja-like precision in finding a problem that's in the marketplace and delivering a powerful, powerful solution. So really, whenever people talk to him, they can't say no. Is like really what Steve has created. So let me introduce him a little bit, and then I'm going to give him a chance to just blow you guys away. So with Steve's company, they provide Salesforce support and managed services tailored to help growth-minded organizations scale efficiently and sustainably. More than just system support, they implement a proven strategic framework that guarantees success by aligning people, processes, and technology around clear outcome-driven goals. Their approach turns Salesforce into more than a CRM. It becomes the operating system for your business's performance, clarity, and growth. So excited to dive into this. Again, Steve, thank you so much for coming on
Yeah.
the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I would love for our listeners to be able to hear a little bit about your background. Like, how did you come to being this? Like, I love, first of all, how niched your business is. Really, really powerful. But like, how did you get there? What's the journey?
So yeah, I started off a Salesforce user, and so I was in the mortgage industry trying to grow my origination business, and had pain points, not just on not even on like the sales and marketing side. Like the bigger pain point was, as an originator, I was getting all this information from a client about how they were going to purchase a home, right? And where the money was coming from and where they worked at, and like how they were paid, and all of this information that just there wasn't a structured place to put it, right? So the challenge I would always have is I'd have these conversations with the client, and then when I'm going to hand this off to processing, like I have to be able to translate this information for my processor to then request the right documentation. And if there's not a structured way for that, all of those data points, and do we need bank statements, do we need insurance verification, do we need mortgage statements, right? It became this, and this was 2009 to 12 is when I was kind of growing and getting introduced to Salesforce, and saw the problem that Salesforce could solve, right? Was like being able to translate this and create visibility to the fulfillment of all of these things. If I was doing, back then, 20, 30 plus loans a month, and with that, each of those loans has 20 or 30 items that we need to get. And so it was this challenge of designing a system that allowed me to get visibility of the fulfillment and delivery of those loans, but then working with my teammates to define what they needed the technology to do that would then allow them to be more productive in getting those different things, right? And all of this, like all of this can be measured, right? And so anyways, yeah, like that was my starting point. I built a solution that allowed me to grow and scale my business. I spent 6 years at VIP Mortgage here in Scottsdale, building out an end-to-end platform on Salesforce. And in the time there, we worked with multiple consultants who just we just never had a good experience. They need the technology, but they didn't understand the business. And what I've really learned, and about 7 years ago, is when I left and started Opti with really just knowing the need that was there to help organizations succeed in this. And frankly, what we've uncovered is Like the reality, it's just a language problem. It's not a technology problem. It's a language problem. Like everybody's speaking a different language. So like the executive says, I want to grow sales. The right? And you're in marketing, like, okay, like what's the strategy behind that? What type of leads? How are we going to measure those leads? How, like, all of it ultimately ties out, right? Where if we truly know the outcome that we're trying to create and we can align the behavior that needs to occur to produce that outcome, we could create visibility into the future. It's almost like you're always predicting the future, right? Like, okay, we want to go from here to here. In 90 days, we want to be here. Okay, well, how do we what behavior needs to occur? And we could be 30 days in and already know if we're going to hit that in 90 days.
Wow, I love
And then
that.
there's AI. So on top of this is, the power of AI and what it can do, but AI needs direction. Right? The one thing AI can't do is explain what needs to happen. So when we give it an outcome and we define the behavior that needs to occur, now we can leverage AI to assist that in actually happening.
Yeah, I love it. So smart. So is it really like on like a really simple level? Like, are you customizing Salesforce for companies to like meet their operational needs? Is that really what's happening, or is it more nuanced than that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what's changed is just there's no longer a need for there's very little need for development anymore, right? So we can literally build a solution as quickly as we can get the requirements from the customer. The problem is the customer doesn't have the requirements, right? And they haven't thought through the process. And frankly, this is a new skill set that's needed in the workplace. And I'd say part of our role in supporting and enabling these customers and leveraging the technology is enabling their people in developing these new skills, right? Because they're the ones who know the process, right?
So
If
you're
you
kind of
know,
like you're like a translator between the language of the
yes,
business and the language of the tech. Is that what?
yeah, we're extracting all of that specific, like, and again, the gap is in, like, AI is a phenomenal generator of general knowledge, right? But there's no value in general knowledge until you can define the specific application of that knowledge, which requires the specific knowledge to
Yeah.
point to the specific application, right? And these people in the workforce, whether they know it or not, if you know the four phases of learning, where you're in the fourth phase, you're conscious or unconscious competence, right? So I don't know, I know, right? They're literally doing these behaviors every single day in the workplace. They just don't know, they aren't aware of it, and they don't know how to communicate that to someone like, like me. And frankly, most of these consultants aren't approaching it with this mindset, right?
For
Like they're
sure.
coming in and saying, "We know the answers. Here's what you need to do." But the reality is that every organization is different. Those people in the those end users are the ones who know all those specific scenarios. And if we can work with them to design the solution, now when the solution's ready, they're already a raving fan, right? So that just helps with adoption and gets them being successful in leveraging the technology.
Yeah. So do you feel like most companies like where like a big mistake that they make is like they don't even understand, like they're doing too much of their process manually that could be done through a software, and like if they took some time to like really write out the process, that like a program like Salesforce could like automate so much of that. Like, is that kind of the biggest problem that is happening with businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a tremendous amount of value to perspective coming from outside of the business, right? It's very, I mean, even for us internally, we use Salesforce, but we've hired consultants to help us in identifying what it is we need to do within our business, because like within your business you're just so in the weeds, right? Like you're not viewing it from a high level, you're viewing it from in the weeds. So you end up running around in circles, like trying to define this best process. And frankly, like an outsider perspective is going to look at it and offer totally fresh perspective on what that is. And ultimately you still get the say, you still get the feedback, and no, that's not the scenario, this isn't the case, right? But like to me, that's one of the things that, yeah, that's challenging for us to get organizations to see and understand is just the value of, an hour's worth of our time could probably save their people 8 to 10 hours, right? And then we get 15 minutes of their time, and we've got a way better solution that would have, like, could have taken them 20 hours to build, right?
Yeah.
But they're just not thinking about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. So like tell me about how like your business structure works. Like, is this like a project where like you go in, consult, figure out what the process is, say, okay, we can build this out for you. And it's just a project based, or do people hold you on like retainer to like continue to build out
Yeah,
services,
that
build something? So now they're like married to you because you built the thing. Like how does it work to work with you?
yeah, I mean, our goal, like, I mean, we're always focused on value creation, right? And the strategy side of things, I mean, that's frankly can sometimes be a challenge, for us, because like these companies just they're like, we just want it to work. And it's like, well, yeah, like we can get it to work, but like there's a much bigger process to actually creating value from the technology, right? So we kind of support both sides of that, right? Like we offer support, right? And we're glad to come in and do support and just charge hourly as stuff comes up. But in the process of doing that, like we're we're identifying opportunities to better leverage the technology. So, our framework is typically like retainer based, right? And we work in basically 90-day increments where the goal for each of those 90 days, we're going to define where resources are going to be allocated within the organization. And this all is in alignment with, our framework, to where over time, during those 90-day increments, like, we're very focused on what specific outcomes we're looking to produce, right? And then who is it that we're going to work with to actually make progress on achieving those outcomes, right? And this again can be combative to, a lot of these organizations say, hey, like, we just want a consulting firm to come in and do it. And it's like, well, like, but the reality is somebody has to own the behavior. We can't influence behavior in your organization. We can build great tools, but we need someone to take ownership of getting that delivered and ensuring that people use it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So it really is kind of like a like you're gonna build, but like there has to be like some hand holding with the hand off, and that ownership piece is really important for sustainable implementation. Oh,
And within each department, like we typically will have like a service app and a sales app. And within each of those apps, there's an owner, right? And the goal would be to continually work with that owner to identify what those outcomes are that we could produce, how we can help their people become more productive, right? And as we get them into that role, like, we're really transitioning them out of, like, the goal is to transition them out of the reactionary work that they're doing every day, right? And get them to spend more time with us, because that time with us is defining what behavior actually needs to occur in the organization, and building technology that makes their people exponentially more productive, right? So, like, the goal is elevating these people out and allowing them to do twice the production and not have to hire another body.
yeah, yeah, I love that. That's so cool. So, and what are the typical companies that you work with? Like, is there an industry or vertical that you typically work within, or a size of company that you work
Yeah,
with?
so size typically less than 50 users. I mean, we can work with bigger organizations. It's just that the people, like, the technology is scalable, the people is what's challenging. So we typically try and focus on growth minded smaller organizations that have an appetite for growth and want to grow quickly and want to leverage technology. The wealth management space, like, that's where a good chunk of our clients are. And then nonprofit actually has been as a wealth management nonprofit. But we also, I mean, we work in manufacturing, any sales and service organization, and especially any company that's on Salesforce, like we can
Yeah.
absolutely
Do
help.
you convert companies over to Salesforce, or like do they need to be in Salesforce already?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's another kind of engagement and process, but a lot of that is being able to get them to see and understand the value of Salesforce. If they're already on Salesforce, they're paying for, they're paying for a Ferrari, but driving it in first gear. so getting them to understand the value that's there, and it makes it a lot easier if they're on Salesforce, and whether they may or may not have a Salesforce admin, those like that's a role that we can either take on or enable the Salesforce admin even further, right? So it really, we can allocate resources in many different ways, from development to administration to just like oversight, right? And project management and delivery, and helping their team just become more productive and leveraging technology.
Yeah, I love that. Can you share a few examples of like what's happened in a business? Like what was going on in a business? You came in, you organized this particular product and solution, and then this was the result.
Hmm.
I'd love to understand that on like
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the wealth management space is a great one. Just as an example, like a lot of these independent advisors, they have all different types of clients, and just do a poor job. Like they truly don't know like who clients are, right? So they say they manage a couple hundred households, right? And so, well, like, of those households, like, which ones have you closed business with? Which ones are due for review? Like, what are those reviews about? How are you capturing that information in the system? All those provide opportunities on the sales side. But then when they go to sell products, like the big problem that we typically solve in that space right out of the gate is all of these advisors sell multiple products with multiple institutions and could have multiple different rep codes, right? All of which, from a compliance side, and this comes from kind of my mortgage background, but at the end of the day, like, you have to submit this paperwork to the institution with the client's information, all their detailed information, the right rep code, all of that correct information, right? And we've worked with companies where they're like 20 to 30% of their business that goes to these institutions gets rejected. So you have to do that whole entire process all over again, re-entering the data, re-entering that, right? And so it's hundreds of hours throughout the organization on a monthly basis. And it's just a data problem. They again, they don't know, they haven't defined what products they sell, what custodians they're available through, whether or not they accept qualified funds or non-qualified funds. All those become those scenarios that leave room for errors in the paperwork. And so we have in the process, like, we have both a technology solution, but then also the process in creating visibility to the reality of their business. And as we configure that, we make it super simple for the advisor to submit new business and ensure that the system prevents them from screwing it up. Right? Like here's the rep codes you can use based on this custodian, based on this product, and the system enforces it to where when it gets through to operations, it's the right paperwork, right? And so we've literally eliminated those NIGOs, right? So I mean, we've saved hundreds and hundreds of hours, and with that, now their operations team can do twice the amount of business with the same headcount. And in addition to that, like, now they're starting to identify, like, they're doing twice the amount of business, the same headcount, but they don't even need that many people, right? So now it's a matter of, okay, how can we leverage this person's skills and expertise in another area of the business? So they're moving from operations and more reactionary work to service and more proactive work, which now again drives the user experience, allows the advisors better, provides them with better service and getting their customers. And we've got a webinar where we kind of highlight the future of AI and where this stuff is going, because all of that, is where you start to be able to leverage AI alongside these, like, less experienced workers, but being able to guide the AI through those more experienced workers, right? It's all just about leveraging the knowledge that exists within the organization, and being able to allow AI to bring value within it.
yeah, I love that you brought AI because that was actually where I was going to go. My next question: How are you leveraging AI into your products and services now in a way that you couldn't just a couple of years ago?
I mean, it's it's mind-boggling what is possible with this. Organizations are so far away from being able to, just because of the data problem, right? like they can't, there still is that interpretation, even if they chat into it, like, what products should I sell to this customer? Right. Well, that's a very layered question. And yes, we can send AI all of the product history from this customer, but unless we know, like an asset that they own and can relate that asset to the products that we sell in some capacity, right? That the AI doesn't know all that information to the specificity of the people in their organization, right? The sales guy is the one who knows, no, they have this and they have this. And so we could sell them that. And if they're out of inventory on this, then we could sell them that. And it's like, well, okay, but that knowledge has to live somewhere within the technology. So it's just being able to get that definition. But I mean, we're always using it internally, even just from a communication, just in, you can send all kinds of information and allow it to summarize, right? And so it just saves so much time. But it's finding those specific application points where that's when real value is going to be gained from, and is when the people in the organization learn to specify how it can create value.
Yeah, I love that. It's hard to distill that out of human beings. Like as you're talking, like I'm thinking about like my own processes and like with clients where like I'd say I run some Facebook ads, and someone's like, how did you make a decision on like how to adjust that campaign? And I'm like, how did I make that decision? Because there's years of layered experience, coaching, nuance, instinct, data
Hmm.
analysis. And so like to like convey that to another human being or technology to be able to make that same decision, it's hard. It's way tough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, this is awesome. So, do you think and dream in Salesforce? Like, is this just like you have dreams about how to like optimize
Right.
things in Salesforce?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm always thinking about this stuff. I think my bigger, I mean, the exciting part about what we do is like the thing that excites me most is when we get clients who see it, right? When we get clients who real, like, the light bulb goes on where it's like, oh, wait, like, I don't need to be doing what I used to be doing. There's so much more value in me helping to define what, like, how to make my people more productive. And because that's when and a lot of our company, like, there's nothing worse than hiring us, or yeah, starting to work with us, right? And then hiring a person. Right? That's probably the most frustrating thing, right? And we've actually started setting that in our expectations. Look, if you're hiring us, or if you're going to work with us, like, don't hire anybody, because give us some time to assess what it is your people are supposed to be doing, and help in building an experience. So when you do hire that person, it's very clear whether or not they're successful, right? Because, like, the reality is, like, you're hiring another body, but you have three people that should be doing all of that work today.
Yeah, yeah, that totally makes sense. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I bet when once a client gets it, then they're probably like, "Hey, Steve, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this?" And then all of a sudden you're like, "Now we're talking." Like,
Eh,
yes, like we
Yeah.
absolutely can. We just need to build it.
Yeah, and that's where I truly believe that we intend to be working with these clients forever, right? Because the more we get embedded in their business, the more we understand it, and the faster we can move on building these solutions together, right? Now, as I say, like, that doesn't mean, part of our ongoing focus is empowering their people and upskilling their people, right? So, like, just because they continue working with us doesn't mean that they're spending more and more money, or it still becomes a collaborative effort on certain things just need to be done. And if we can identify resources that are employees of your organization who can do it, then great. That saves us. And it's one of the key roles that we typically try and identify is someone on the data side. Like, if we can find a younger person in the organization, because at the end of the day, like in the example I was saying, these products and custodians, like, if that data is not 100% accurate, then the solution we built doesn't work anyways. So someone's got to own that data, and that takes time. And in reality, if we own it, we're never going to get it right because we don't know their business. Like they need to find the people in the organization who can tell them, like, here's the products we sell, here's the custodians they're available to, and then let's build a process to ensure that any new products get added go through the same process, and now this data is always accurate. That's the only way to guarantee that this solution will continue working.
Yeah, and it doesn't, like, fall into, like, old habits of, like, how
Right.
things were done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I love it. So, what would you say, like, sets you apart from, like, other software consultants or Salesforce consultants? Like, what makes Opti different?
I mean, everything we've talked about in this call, right? Yeah, my frustration in working with partners is that I just never felt enabled, and it's like they were always holding something away from you, so you'd have to pay them these more and more hours, right? And I have an abundant mindset, and our approach is very enabling, right? Like we want to identify the people in their organization who can learn the technology, right? I mean, we'll gladly take an open-minded kid out of school, someone like that, and put them in a role where they're like the junior admin, right? And our goal as we do all of this functionality and build out is to develop that person into an admin, where you no longer has to need us to do the admin work because we're going to find 20 other things to do to bring value.
Yeah,
And
I
then
love
we can work with that admin to actually build it and deliver it. So it just becomes we're working together longer, but we're also being much more intentional in how we're spending our money, and we're maximizing our investment in each other, and we're ensuring they're successful in the long run.
yeah, so great. I love this so much. So what is a big goal that you have for the business the next 6 to 12 months? Like, what's the big initiative? Is it team growth, revenue growth, bringing more clients on, breaking into a new industry? Like, what's a big goal for you guys?
So yeah, definitely grow. My short term is actually the book that I'm working on.
Nice.
So I'm writing a book, and that yeah, that getting that published and released, and a lot of my short-term focus right now is just around messaging and our process and our framework, and getting customers to understand what just how we work differently, right? And, I'll say that the market is warming up to it. They see it, they hear when we explain it, like, they understand it, but it's almost like, I don't know, it's just different. So yeah, it just takes time for that to wear in. But as we get that, yeah, next year's goal is really to more than double, our client base, and we're set up very well for that. We've got great team systems, people in place, and the process and the framework, but it requires companies that want to embrace this new way of working.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and communicating, especially when, I don't know if you say a new way of working, communicating that and bridging the gap for people in messaging can be a challenge for sure.
hmm I've been working out for 7 years.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And is your business gotten to a point where, like, word of mouth has kind of turned into a flywheel and it's growing that way? Or, like, are you doing direct outreach to companies? Like, how do people find you?
Primarily by word of mouth. We do have a around the wealth management space. We have a webinar that we're starting up now to kind of demonstrate what I talked about earlier, and start to lead into AI. But yeah, those are the main sources, and definitely, yeah, looking to continue to expand on some of our existing clients and partnerships, even that they might have, right? Like in verticals that are a lot like alongside theirs, right? So starting to coordinate, how can we help this company grow, but they get a lot of referrals from this company. So, like, if we can make that introduction, and then ultimately, like, we can facilitate tying those systems together, right? Where they actually are getting more business from each other. And if they're both on Salesforce, like, that's a very simple thing, straightforward thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's super smart. Like, inserting yourself into complementary business
Yeah.
angles. One of my favorite marketing books is called Integrative Marketing. I don't know if you've ever
Haven't
heard of
read
it.
that one.
But it's and I believe the author's Mark Joyner is what his name is. But anyway, he talks about how like there's streams of traffic everywhere, right? And so the goal is like there's one thing, to like drive traffic, bring it to you, but if you can like insert yourself into a traffic flow where
Yeah,
you're already happening, right? Like then that's a really, really powerful resource for you to drive business to yourself with minimal effort because someone else is
for sure.
drawing the traffic to them. So it sounds like that's
Yeah.
that integrative marketing
Well,
plan.
yeah, and if you coordinate it correctly, it can be a much better user experience, the customer experience too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So fun. Well, I'm excited for you. And is the book centered around your business or is it something else? What is the book about?
Yes, like really the mindset and framework. So thinking and outcomes and just creating more awareness around the real problem that exists and the ability to think in outcomes and clarify what technology needs to do with that clarity enables like this collective intelligence, right? To me, that the space that we're going into is like we're realizing we have access to this universal intelligence, right? That's facilitated by AI. Well, in order to leverage that effectively, we have to learn how to maximize, like how to create collective intelligence, right? Which is a combination of the AI, but then the different types of people and the experiences within the organization, right? And then bringing that all together into an actual organizational language that defines what reality is within the organization. And with a definition of reality and metrics to do, we can create a better reality, right? We can
Mm,
define what needs to be done to create a better reality, but it's all based on the ability to access and leverage that collective intelligence that aligns to that language.
yeah, I love that. Sign me up. I want to read it. This
Yeah,
is great.
yeah.
I love it. Well, Steve, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the Marketing Matrix today. You're wicked smart, and I love that you are just incredibly smart, but also like grounded and have an abundance mindset of enabling businesses to thrive, not just cripple them and make them dependent on your organization. It's really, really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing what you do and your passion. You're clearly passionate about it. It's been
Yeah.
really so fun to have you on the Marketing Matrix.
Yeah, thank you for having me, appreciate it.
So, how can people find you, Opti, when your book's ready? Pick up a
Yeah.
copy. How do they?
I don't know about the book part yet, and I don't know when that's gonna be done. I'm in the process of still writing that, but, just optiunlimited.com, LinkedIn, and, I mean, Twitter, Opti CEO, but I'd say primarily just the website, LinkedIn, email, phone, the normal ways. But, yeah, would love to chat and see how we can help and just collaborate on how we utilize these tools to just create a better world, a better workplace, all the above.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, make sure to reach out to Steve, and he's on the cutting edge of using powerful tools like Salesforce and implementing AI into it to make systems and processes better. And I love how your even your bio from the very beginning, it said like you're creating an operating system from the business. That's something I've been thinking a lot about in my business is how can I create more of an operating system instead of having everything being so manually triggered or person triggered by how things move through the pipeline. So I love that thinking and it's powerful. And I wish you the best of luck and I'm excited to have more conversations
Yeah.
about it.
No, I look forward to it as well.